Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This video of one of Trump's supporters talking about US President Donald Trump will have a third term has been received in ZANU-PF circles with enthusiasm and celebration. On Saturday, the party concluded its party conference in Mutare, and the only thing they ever said really was to reaffirm the resolution of the previous conference that Mnangagwa should be allowed to serve until 2030. And this coming from America, that America is going to also to change its constitution to allow Trump to serve a third term, can only re-energize that ED2030 base. And just listen to it.
He's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you could tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
You're not driving me crazy. I'm trying to understand the coherence of the things you've just told me. On the one hand, you've said the Constitution is fit for purpose. Secondly, you've said that President Trump needs another term, even though the 22nd Amendment makes pretty clear that he cannot have another term.
Why does it make that clear?
Because he's on his second term already.
At some point in time, we will make sure we go through, Zanny, and define all those terms.
But you will be undermining the spirit of that amendment, even if you find some way around it.
If the American people, with the mechanisms we have, put Trump back in office, are the American people tearing up the Constitution? Would that be tearing up?
Well,
would the American people be going against the spirit of the Constitution, ma'am?
I think yes, actually, because I think what you will end up with is a populist justification for a quasi-dictatorship.
That's not true at all.
That's what it sounds like.
It's not. Trump is a dictatorship. Did you just see the compromises he had to make on the big, beautiful bill? You see the compromises he has to do on everything, on accommodating Zelensky, on what President Trump. President Trump is nothing but a series of negotiations to kind of keep this thing rolling forward, where he's having trade-offs all the time.
Steve, you've just spent the last 20 minutes telling me we have to smash the other side. There's no room for debate. There's no room for compromise. We must smash them. And now you're telling me this is a negotiation. I mean, that's
no.
I guess that's why it seems to me some kind of tension there.
The only way President Trump wins in 2028 and continues to stay in office is by the will of the American people, okay? And the will of the American people is what the Constitution embodies. And so I think we're going to be in good hands there. We need to finish what we started.
Wow. I think this is shocking news. People should realize that if you're going to undermine the Constitution once, you have set a dangerous precedent, because you've left the Constitution susceptible to be undermined again. People should realize that as much as Trump may be popular or is popular with the majority, he did win the 2024 elections. And I think none of the Democrats have ever said he rigged those elections. But it must be emphasized that the Constitution draws certain red lines on what the majority can and cannot do. And changing the Constitution is one of those things. And so I believe this will be a dangerous precedent to set for the Americans. But to come back to Zimbabwe, as much as ZANU-PF would want to draw parallels between what President Trump is doing with Zimbabwe, the two nations could not be more different. Let's be honest here. President Trump was elected in a free, fair, and credible election in 2016. He lost the 2020 elections. Yes, he tried to stop the process, undermine the process with his 6th January 2021 storming of Capitol Hill in Washington. But in the end, he did accept that he lost those. He came back and won in 2024. No one, as far as I know, has ever said he rigged those elections. The same cannot be said about Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa got into power in 2017 on the cocktails of a military coup. He promised to hold free, fair, and credible elections. And 8 months later, he blatantly rigged the 2018 elections. 5 years later, he blatantly rigged the 2023 elections. Even our own regional body, SADC, our own continental body, AU, election observers condemned the 2023 elections as flawed and illegal. We have got an illegitimate president. And now he's trying to extend his stay in office beyond 2028 on the basis of an idiotic lie that he's doing very well. We should allow him to continue. That is absolutely stupid. The last 12 months, for instance, Mnangagwa, when he passed the so-called first resolution in the Bulawayo ZANU-PF conference, he had spent a lot of money bribing his fellow ZANU-PF leaders to back him on that. And no doubt, he had a large carrot and an equally large stick. Mnangagwa has been known for his threats. So the party conference endorsed that resolution. We were coerced, bribed and coerced to endorse that resolution. And in January, we had blessed Geza coming out and dismissing the whole 2030 as bullshit. That really threw the cat among the pigeons. Because ZANU-PF had to put on the back burner ED2030. And the regime was to indulge in a all-out scheme to bribe war veterans. Some of the leaders had houses built for them. Some even had cars. But the overwhelming majority of them, all they ever got was bicycles. It is laughable. That 45 years after independence, those war veterans, many of them living in abject poverty, and now they're being bribed with bicycles. If some of them did not know how to ride bicycles, and I'm sure there are some who don't know how to ride a bicycle, and even those who do know, if you're 70, 60 years, 70, 80 years old, riding a bicycle is not a very advisable thing. But that's what they got. And in preparation for the 2025 ZANU-PF Congress, which the idea was to make sure that the Congress re-endorses the ED2030 resolution, Mnangagwa continued with the bribing of party officials. All the 300 members of the ZANU-PF Central Committee received new vehicles. Women's League chairpersons, Youth League chairpersons, they all received new vehicles. And he even extended this generosity to the army. The top brass in the army, 700 of them, received new vehicles, all in the name of bribing them so that they endorse the ED2030. So this whole issue about Mnangagwa is doing very well for the country is absolutely utter nonsense. All this reckless spending is for the purpose of buying loyalty to the idea that Mnangagwa should stay in power until 2030. It's nothing to do with what is good for the country. He himself, the regime is itself admitted that most of the country's hospitals are in a deplorable state. They don't have medicines. They don't have ambulances. Schools, the same thing. Our roads and basic infrastructure, all in various stages of rot and decay. And yet the regime has got the money to buy loyalty. I think many people, many Americans will admit that President Trump has been able to do a lot of things that have been good for America. Even his critics will give him credit for that. Mnangagwa has been a disaster for the country. Corruption has never been so rampant as it is in Zimbabwe under his rule. Some people have been talking in the last few weeks about state capture. I think it is no exaggeration that Zimbabwe is now a mafia state, captured by the mafia. They call the shots. And we, the ordinary citizens, have no say in it. So this whole point of Mnangagwa staying in power until 2030, which many people believe also that is just the starter. When he gets to 2030, he will come up with ways of making sure that that debt is moved. It's a nightmare. And as much as ZANU-PF would want to compare themselves with America, the two countries are totally different. President Trump and President Mnangagwa have absolutely nothing in common, other than that they share the same title of being state president of a country. Mnangagwa, I emphasize, was never elected by the people of Zimbabwe. He came into power in 2017 on the back of a military coup. He has gone on to rig the 2018 elections and then the 2023 elections. And he has accomplished nothing of substance. Why he would want to extend his illegitimate rule already to 2030 beggars belief. But the tragedy is he's hell-bent on achieving that goal. And I think the people of Zimbabwe have got to be a lot smarter if they're ever going to stop him. The truth of the matter is the opportunity to stop him is there. Just as we've had many opportunities to end the ZANU-PF dictatorship in the last 45 years, with the best opportunity coming during the GNU of 2008 to 2013. We've wasted those opportunities. We can stop Mnangagwa by refusing to participate in flawed elections. Deny ZANU-PF legitimacy, and Mnangagwa will be stopped. The biggest problem we have had here is that we have had millions of opposition supporters were incredibly naive and gullible, and who have been conned to participate in flawed elections by the likes of Chamisa, because he would tell them an idiotic lie like I've plugged all the vote-rigging loopholes. And they believed him. Our challenge is to make sure that those people are not conned to participate in the 2028 elections to give ZANU-PF legitimacy. It's not an impossible task, but neither is it an easy task, given that some of these Chamisa Chete Brigade members are brain dead. You can't reason with them. But we have to. We have to tell them, we have to make them understand that Chamisa is a liar and a con man. Easier said than done. But nonetheless, it can be done. And even more, it must be done. Zimbabwe cannot afford another rigged election in 2028 to perpetuate the ZANU-PF dictatorship. Whether it's Mnangagwa, who is president, or some other ZANU-PF thug, it's of really very little difference. We have to stop the ZANU-PF dictatorship. We have to end this mafia state that has been ruling Zimbabwe for the last 45 years. Think about it.